Morning to everyone. Morning, Professor Dr. M. Afsar Alam, esteemed Vice Chancellor, Jamia Hamdard, Mr. Moses Manoharan Chair, Global Dialogue Forum in New Delhi, Professor Dr. Reshma Nasreen, Dean, School of Management and Business Studies, Jamia Hamdard, Professor Salina Bashir, and M. Sikandar on the dais. Similarly, off the dais, all respected guests, deans of different institutions, esteemed professors, teachers, academicians present here, prominent personalities from the social group, all learned panelists presiding on the different panel today, and my dear students. I am honored to be here in this conference, which aims to deliberate and celebrate the diversity of our incredible country. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Our ability to reach unity in diversity will be the beauty and test of our civilization." Question arises in my mind, why do we call India as a diverse country? Before we begin and explore how inclusion inwoven into fabric of the Constitution, ensuring positive diversity, first, let me take you through some data retrieved from census of 2011, which refers as diversity index. In the context of the religious diverse country, if we see the population made up to Hindus 82.41%, Muslims 11.6%, Christian 2.32%, Sikhs 1.99%, Buddhists 0.77%, Jains 0.41%, in addition to the tribal society. India is the linguistically diverse. Numerous languages spoken across its state are 22 official as recognized by the Constitution. Similarly, over 3,000 castes, 25,000 subcastes made India a highly stratified society. Over 2,000 distinct ethnic communities made India culturally rich. A diverse land area of this country, over 3.28 million square kilometer, a wide variety of natural land space, including dry deserts, evergreen forests, steep mountain, perennial and non-perennial river system, lengthy coasts, and above all, fertile plain makes India as a geographically diverse country. If we come on economic diversity, then survey reflects that top 10% of the population earns 57% of national income, and remaining 43% national income is contributed by rest 90% of the population. It shows economic diversity. So these are certain data how we are diverse. As we can see, diversity encompasses the area of differences among individuals: race, gender, ethnicity, abilities, perspective, and more. Inclusion, on the other hand, is the deliberate and active effort of the embrace and values of this diversity, creating an environment where everyone feels respected, heard, an integral part of as a whole. Reflecting on the history of Indian freedom struggle, it is evident that individuals from diverse regions and walks of life played a pivotal role. It was one of the instances when pre-independent India witnessed the power of unity of diversity. This unity became a guiding ethos for the framers of the Constitution, shaping their vision for a democratic, harmonious India. Why do I say so? Let me take you through a preamble of our Constitution. If we see, then the framer of the Constitution, after debates, framed our Constitution, then formulated our preamble. Last. The ever emphasizing is we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India, leave aside solemnly, having resolved to constitute India into, initially it were three pillars, sovereign, socialist and democratic, and secular is added later. And to secure all citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thoughts, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and promote them among all. Fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. Now this has been resolved, and we, the people of India, gave to ourselves this Constitution. As already mentioned above, I gave the data. India is a land of diversity. The same was prominent in the minds of the constituent framers when they were burning the midnight oil drafting our Constitution. As a result, the independent India saw its birth as a nation of vast diversity and a society where people from all culture coexist in peace and brotherhood. However, for any nation to sustain its diversity, inclusivity becomes an indispensable component. At this juncture, we need to understand the concept of the inclusivity, which in the simplest term is defined as having a sense of belongingness and harmonious coexistence of different identities together as a society. So this is inclusivity. I would like to quote Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "No culture can live if it attempts to be exclusive. Just reverse to it as of inclusivity." This quote befittingly indicate, it is fine of mine. Can I take this? This quote befittingly indicate diversity and conformity as we see today in India from post-independence era. Having defined inclusivity, the next question which arises is, what do we mean by an inclusive society? An inclusive society is defined as a society for all in which every individual, each with right and responsibilities, has an active role to play while maintaining the respecting of identity of every individual, forms a society, and that would be an inclusive society. Again, why in inclusive society needed and what are its prerequisites? Before I answer the question, I say it cannot be disputed that a nation with such a vast diversity will be free from conflict. A human is social animal, and at the end of the day, conflicts are bound to happen between two individuals. Whenever we ask for where is a dispute, the dispute is always in between two, no other, only two, one and one. So it is all bound to be happen. Now in such a scenario, the prerequisite to maintain the inclusivity of society comes into picture, and they are as follows. Number one, respect of human rights of all, freedom of an individual and utmost of all, and last component which includes everything, that is rule of law. To effectively regulate the conduct of an individual or society at a large nation as diverse as ours, law play a crucial role and are necessary. However, with the change of a social fabric and amendment or changes brought in such law should not dilute their fundamental essence, which is rooted in the preamble of our Constitution and core values enshrined in it. Therefore, the Constitution of India, by virtue of the values contained in it, becomes a paramount prerequisite for an inclusive society in Indian context. Every member of a society, no matter what his or her economic resources, political status, or social standing, must be treated equally under the law. Having said so, today I ask myself and all of you that can there be a better example of inclusivity in diversity than the Constitution of this country, which secures for all citizens justice, liberty, equality, fraternity for its citizens, and that is brought by ourselves to ourselves. Can it be a better example? Suppose we go to the segmentization of this preamble, why it is in this sequence. The first element is justice. The thought process of the framers were the thought process of our framers were different. Their thought was it should be a equal justice with everyone. That should be in respective fields, socio, economic and political, whatever it is. Few examples: right against exploitation, right to equality, right against discrimination, equality of opportunity, and so on and so forth. In short, the justice is about ensuring that everyone receives that they deserve based on a standard rightfulness. It's closely tied to the concept of fairness and treating people justly, and involves treating them fairly with impartiality. The second element is liberty. It is the liberty of thoughts, thought process, expression, belief, faith and worship. If we put an example of thought of expression, right to life and personal liberty, thought is in a human being. It can come within the mind of a human being. Nothing, no one else can. So, first is human, then thought process, right to life and personal liberty. right of freedom of religion, culture, and educational rights. If we go as a thought to come in the mind of a human being, then liberty comes a paramount. Article 21 says, no person shall be deprived by his personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. If we see the plain reading of this article, it is evident that the protection is offered to inclusive of all persons. In other words, the term person is not limited solely to the citizens of India, but encompasses every individual, irrespective of nationality or their specific circumstances. So this is peculiarness, but this life of liberty is with dignified life. So the right enshrined by Article 21 is non-derogatory and exists even when other constitutional rights are suspended. I put an example to this. I hail from a state of Madhya Pradesh. You know, the famous case of Article 21, that ADM Jabalpur Shivkant Shukla. This is from Madhya Pradesh. The question arises during emergency whether the right to live and liberty can be arrested during emergency. The 5 judges bench, by the majority at that time, answered the issue in negative. But Justice H.R. Khanna, at that time, in minority, answered the issue. Justice Khanna says, in his dissenting opinion, he quoted that even in the absence of Article 21 of the Constitution, the state has got no power to deprive a person of his life and liberty without the authority of law. Without such sanctity of life and liberty, the distinction between a lawless society and one governed by laws would cease to have any meaning. So you see this, the minority opinion about 40 years back converted into a majority opinion. The issue of another example of the diversity you will find, the son reversed the judgment of the father. In the Puttaswamy case, in 2017, where while overruling the majority verdict of ADM Jabalpur, the court held, I quote, the right to life being inalienable to each individual. Justice Khanna was clearly right in holding that recognition of the right to life and personal liberty under the Constitution does not denote the existence of that right. Now, these cases are insignificant of two key reasons. These cases are significant for two reasons. Firstly, it reinforces the right of individual irrespective of their status or background, underlying the universality of these rights. Secondly, it serves as an exemplar for the diverse range of opinion and perspective that context in the country of multifaceted as India. Now we see, so once a right is protected, that is a liberty of a man, then expression of thoughts to the individual. And how those thoughts are others, working of others, how it can be gathered by other. You can see this principle in 1975 itself in Rajnarayan, considered a commensurate in recognizing the citizen's right to know as to fundamental aspect of the right to freedom of speech and expression. The Supreme Court held at that time, right to information is implicit in the right to freedom of speech and expression. The court stated that citizens have a right to know about the affairs of the government and disclosure of the information is necessary for an informed citizenry. You see why this 75 thought. This thought has come in 1975. Then Right to Information Act has came subsequently later, after a so long time. So these are certain diverse examples. But for conformity and to define India, why these rights are important? The question comes in my mind. All these rights are important to maintain the dignity of the individual, but also to maintain the rule of law of a diverse country like India. So, it is essential. If we come to the concept of the rule of law, it has been enshrined by the drafters in the Constitution itself. The fact that the Constitution declares the Indian states as a sovereign reinstates the ideas of rule of law. The ideals of the Constitution, equality, liberty, and fraternity have been enshrined in the preamble. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and anything contrary to it will be declared invalid by the court. And while doing so and interpreting, in the well-known judgment of the Keshwananda Bharati, the Supreme Court said the rule of law is a basic structure of our Constitution. And once it's a very basic structure of the Constitution, then everyone can live with the dignity, this life, individuality, maintaining the diversity of individual, and but conformity for our country, that is defining India. If I come to third element of our preamble, that is equality. The Constitution recognizes equality of status and of opportunity. We secure justice, we secure liberty. Liberty includes your thought process, everything, freedom. Now, if you have these two things, then you must have equality. You see suppose we'll discuss sometime the preamble of the Constitution. It is in fact Bible, it is Gita, it is everything for the Constitution. So, then third concepts come, equality of status and the opportunity. The guiding principle of the equality is like should be treated alike and unlike should be treated differently, giving them equal opportunities. For this reason, reasonable classification on the basis of the intelligible differentia is permitted, and the state is empowered to take affirmative actions, and that comes to directive principles of the state policy in the Constitution. To elaborate the same, the state is empowered to make special provision for women, children, minority, or for advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of the citizens, including scheduled castes, where this issue of reservation comes. Any provision comes to that, the purpose is the citizens must be represented adequately in all respect with dignity. This said core value reflect the extent of inclusivity envisaged by the architect of our Constitution. In the watermark case of Indira Sahni, this issue was diversely discussed. I use the word intentionally, diversely discussed, but made it inclusive for all purposes. And the court emphasized the affirmative action is essential to uplift the historically marginalized and socially educationally backward classes. The court recognized that caste-based reservation are a legitimate means to address historical circumstances and inequalities. Later, it reaffirmed the view in M. Nagaraj, you know, it's 2006 volume 8 SCC 212. A word of caution is further required. The framers intend this reservation must brought to 10 years, extended, now further extended. Any study, have you ever found that by extension of 10 years of benefit of reservation, how much persons could be benefited? How much remains? What should be the extent? While extending this benefit, what we have to do, would it not compromise with the excellence of our country? Framers doesn't mean like this. Framers thought it. He must be benefited. Are the real persons are being benefited under the garb of this reservation? This is the word of caution which is required. Because we are required to define India. Would it mean to define India? In the morning I see the newspaper, the free wage issues notices were issued. Thought it, how far we are doing for our citizens? Or is it the right way to define our India? This diversity would give a conformity? So many questions comes in our mind and why it is nearby. But this is all not a function of the system, judicial system. I will discuss only with respect to what we can do in our parameters. I say, thus, the Constitution of India stands as a remarkable testament to unity in diversity and inclusivity, which is crafted in 1950. It encapsulates the vision of its framers to build a nation that respects and embraces its rich culture, languages, religion, tradition, though its inclusive approach, the Constitution guarantees fundamental rights and freedom to every citizen, irrespective of their background, fostering a sense of equality or justice. Thus, theoretically, India has all the elements which is needed for a society to become a completely inclusive while promoting positive diversity. But are we really a socially inclusive society? In the recent Inclusive Development Index, IDI 2020, as compiled by the World Economic Forum, WEF, India ranked 72 out of 74 emerging countries and was among the least inclusive countries in group of G20 countries. India also did not make it to the top of most inclusive emerging developing economies, where it's Laos, Nepal, China, Sri Lanka, Myanmar. We are supposed to thought of it when we have such a constitution, and we have such a better everything where we are lacking. This is necessarily required to be discussed until we find out what are the negatives. We cannot convert those into positives. Now, in looking to the time constraints, I am going over to the time. In view of this set position, Professor Alam, everyone told me that you come at the time, and I am man who goes with the time, so I will close with my time. So suppose in view of the set position in our nation, in my opinion, the way forward to achieve the ends of the social inclusion is not possible unless we on an individual level contributes. I cannot say, I cannot put out a finger against you, anyone. But I can say what we ourselves can do, thereby we can contribute to our nation. Thereby we can have a truly inclusive society. Creating a socially inclusive society requires fostering empathy, dismantling prejudices, and championing diversity. Individuals can start by actively listening to diverse perspectives, educating themselves about different culture, and challenging their own biases, engaging in open conversation like today that promotes understanding and tolerance must be the key. By acknowledging and valuing the uniqueness of each individual, we pave the way for a society where everyone feels seen, heard, and respected, fostering a harmonious coexistence that celebrates the rich tapestry of human experience. Melinda Gates said, "We all want something to offer. This is how we belong. It's how we feel included." So if we want to include everyone, we have to help everyone develop their talent and use their gifts for the God of the community. That is what inclusion means. Everyone is contributor. Everyone is contributor. So you trust on yourself. You have a liberty of life. You have a life with dignity. You have a thought for expression. You have everything in you. You have equality. But how you can develop and define it, you have to thought of it. Without further ado, I will wish this conference to be of success. I came to know there are 3 sessions. One is preserving identity and plurality, important subject, identity and plurality. The another is upholding the Constitution, enforcing the laws. Probably I have touched all these. And third is balancing minority rights and majority responsibilities, meaning thereby it is a thought process of ours, how we can do it. I am sure that there will be a lot of learning and deliberations by the expert panelists in all 3 technical sessions lined up for today. Prior to end, I will have some poem. In the India's embrace, diversity blooms. A weave of culture rich in hues. United we stand, hand in hand. Inclusivity, the heart of our land. Jai Hind.